Yeah. All right. Okay. So for the online people, I believe you guys are able to see my screen and able to hear me. Online people are on mute by default. If in case you want to talk, you can just type in a chat box. I'll unmute you and you can directly ask questions. Or in case if you just want to ask questions in chat box, you can directly type it over there. So just let me know if you are able to hear me. Just type it in the chat box. Okay. Yes, all right. That's it. Okay, so let's get started with our first Selenium session. So before we get started, let's just do a quick recap on the introduction of Selenium, what exactly Selenium is, what all modules, components are there, right? Some of you may be familiar with, some of you are very new to it, right? But we're going to start at everything from scratch again. So if I talk about Selenium, there are four major components: ID, RC, Webdriver, and Grid, right? These are the four major components in Selenium, in which ID and RC was the part of Selenium 1.0, which was created by which company created Selenium? ThoughtWorks. ThoughtWorks, and the developer behind the same is Jason Huggins. So he is the one who initially designed IDE and RC. IDE was a simple plugin to Firefox. Plugin to Firefox means it only supports Firefox. It only runs on Firefox. It does not support Chrome or any other browser. Plus, there are many limitations of using this Firefox plugin IDE. This is mostly used for record and play. Right. With record and play, we cannot achieve much using this record and play functionality. We cannot automate the entire project using record and play. Some part of web elements can be handled using record and play, but ultimately there are many things that we integrate with Selenium when we are working on a real-time project. The entire Selenium is only used 25% in your project. Right. There are a number of other things which we will be integrating with Selenium, something called as Maven, something called as Jenkins, something called as TestNG, something called as ReportNG. Then for reading Excel files, we have libraries provided by Apache POI API, and number of components are there. We'll be talking about all those components, right? But if you're working on those components, those are basically Java libraries. You cannot use record and play and achieve those tasks. Ultimately, you have to switch on to the coding part. So if a person is working on a real-time Selenium automation project, IDE is not at all used. So for the coding part, this RC library was created initially. An RC library, initially it was a Java library. There was one of the class they have implemented with the name as default Selenium. This was one of the major class. Selenium was one of the Java projects. We know that if we talk about Selenium, Selenium is an open source automation tool for web-based testing only. It's only for web application testing, right? There are a number of applications available. Applications are in a form of mobile applications. They are in a form of APIs like web services that includes SOAP and REST, right? So there are web apps, there are desktop apps. So Selenium comes over here. Selenium automates anything that is available on a web, but it cannot handle desktop application, it cannot handle API, it cannot handle mobile application. But still, since this component is programmatically handled as in, if I talk about Selenium, we know that it supports multi languages as in Java, languages as in C#, as in Python, as in Ruby, as in PHP, as in JavaScript. If you're coming from any of these backgrounds, you can easily work on Selenium. And if I talk about these backgrounds, you need not to have advanced understanding of Java. Like there is no advanced Java required to work on Selenium. Only basic programming part, if it is clear to you, you can easily work on Selenium. So Selenium requires understanding of only core Java, in case you are coming from a Java background. In case you are coming from Python, only core Python, no advanced Python is required, right? So even if we talk about Selenium as an automation tool, there is nothing called tool in case of Selenium. You cannot install Selenium, right? You're not going to find any GUI component in Selenium where you can do record and play. You can, like if we talk about, there is a competitor of Selenium called as QTP, which is also known with the name as UFT these days, right? UFT, QTP, RFT, all these are automation tools. Selenium is not a tool. You'll not see anything in Selenium, anything like a GUI sort of thing in Selenium. If we talk about UFT, if you have ever installed QTP or UFT, you get a setup file, you double click on it, it gets installed on your machine, provide your platform, you can do record and play, you can do scripting, you can use n number of features of that tool. But it is nothing like that with Selenium. You cannot install Selenium. If it is not a tool, then what exactly is Selenium? Selenium is basically a framework. It's a set of libraries. It's an API, right? What do you understand with the term API? What are set of libraries? What are frameworks? It is nothing. It's just collection of different classes, collection of different functions, functionalities, methods, interfaces that is developed in a particular language. So if I talk about Selenium, initially, this project was started in Java, right? There was a class, a Java class with the name as default Selenium. In this class, they have created n number of methods, n number of functions, which you can call and you can automate a website. Now, functions were like, there's a function, a method called as start. In this method, they have written a code. If you call this method, it will actually want to launch a browser. After launching a browser, you want to navigate to a website, there's a method called as open, provided an argument over here. If you give the argument http google.com while calling this method, it will navigate to google.com. Similarly, after navigating to google.com, you want to get the title. There is a method get title. You want to click on anything, there is a method called as click. You want to type on anything, there is a method called as type. So they have already created the entire library and they have directly given you access to this library. In case you want to automate anything using Selenium, just create an object of this class and start calling the methods one by one. And the library was available in a form of .jar file, since it was in Java project, right? But there are many people who are not familiar to Java. Initially, the project was started for developers, right? There is nothing like manual testing, writing test cases we are doing in Selenium. It is like doing the same stuff that development do. They create an object of a class, they use the Java framework, they use all the advanced frameworks, whatever coding they do over there, same coding you need to do in case of Selenium and automate a website. But although the coding is not at very in-depth level, it is just the basic programming that you need to do over here. So initially the project was started for developers. Now there are many developers who are coming from Python background, who are coming from Ruby background. They don't want to again learn a different programming language in order to work on Selenium. They say that I'm already a Ruby developer. Why should I learn Java in order to work on Selenium? Why should a PHP developer learn Java in order to work on Selenium? So the same library was migrated into different languages. So you will find Selenium in Java as well. You will find the same project converted into C# as well, and is available in a form of a DLL file. In case you are a Ruby developer, you will be getting something called as .gem file. In case you are a PHP Python developer, you will be getting bindings according to that particular programming language. So you need not to switch your programming language. Whichever language you are comfortable in, you can use Selenium in that language. But since initially it started from Java, because Java is one of the open source language, no license required to work on Java. Similarly, Selenium is one of the open source projects. There is no license required to work on Selenium. So the compatibility is more of Selenium with Java because the initial support was provided in Java itself. Even in today's industry, 75% of the market of Selenium is around Java itself. Then Python is another language which is very much in demand after Java, and then C Sharp. Right, so every language has its own demand, but Java is most widely used with Selenium. If in case you Google around for any queries in Selenium, you get 75% of the people are responding in the code of Java language itself as compared to different languages. So openings are more in Java. But yes, if you have additional understanding of Python or Ruby, you can convert the same code into that language as well, which will give you an additional advantage. But the concept of Selenium will remain same. Right, it is just a project, a programming project. You need to be familiar with basic core Java in order to work on Selenium. Just you need to, everything is already created. The project is already there. The code is already written. The methods are already created. Functions are already created. Just you need to know how to call a function from a class, how to call a method from a class, and you need to automate your website. They may have written 100 lines of code inside a start method. You need not to worry about that code. You're not developing Selenium. You are using Selenium to automate your website. Selenium is already developed, but is available in a form of a library, in a project, right? And that library is available in a form of .jar file. So this jar file is basically a collection of different classes, different interfaces, different methods that they have already developed into this project. And you're just calling those methods and you're automating your website and adding your own Java concepts, right? So that is what Selenium is. Now, initially, when Selenium RC came into the market, this was the library they have created. And as a tester, as an automation tester, how we are working on it, we were just creating an object of default Selenium class. We were saying default Selenium equal to new default Selenium using the core Java concept. And then we were calling a method called as selenium.start. When we run this code, this will actually launch a browser. In order to navigate to a website, we'll say selenium.open. Provided the URL http google.com and it navigates to google.com. After this, I want to get the title of the page. I'll say selenium.getTitle. I want to click somewhere, I'll say selenium.click. I want to type, I'll say selenium.type. One by one, I keep on calling the methods. I need not to worry about what code is written inside click, what code is written inside type. Yes?
So what is start method?
Start just launches a browser.
Just like a thread.
Just like, yeah. Just.
In the thread, we have a start method.
It's just starting a thread. That's it. Right? When you call this start, it will launch a browser. Now, what is written inside start method? They may have written 100 lines of code. I'm not worried about it. I'm not developing Selenium. I'm just using it for automation purpose. So we call these methods one by one, and it keep on automating our website. When we execute it, it will launch a browser, perform all the actions on the web page. Now, this is a simple Java code. How this code is communicating with your browser? How this code is communicating with the browser? There must be something written in the architecture. The architecture of Selenium RC was JavaScript based. JavaScript as in Selenium RC, it injects JavaScript on browser. So if I talk about JavaScript, if you guys are familiar about the term JavaScript, not the entire language, that this is just, I'm not talking about any particular browser right now. We need to pass on some additional arguments. This is just a simple example I'm taking. Let's say it launches a Firefox browser, right? So then the action will start performing on Firefox browser. But how the actions are being performed? These are performed with the help of JavaScript injection. If I talk about JavaScript, JavaScript works on the client end. Client end as in the UI part. Any action that you need to perform on the UI end click, and they have wrapped the JavaScript code into this method. Now, if you Google around, even if you search for how to click on an element through JavaScript, you're gonna get some code. The code will be something like document.getElement by ID. You provide the ID dot click. This is something like a JavaScript code. So we need not to learn JavaScript. They have wrapped this code into the click method, and you are simply calling click. It is actually doing the same stuff. It is injecting JavaScript on the browser and performing click using the JavaScript technique. That is what they have done in the architecture of Selenium RC. It was a very small project. Initially, Selenium RC was very small. The task is only to inject JavaScript, whichever browser comes, whether it is IE, whether it is Firefox. It is least bother about the browser. It simply keeps on injecting JavaScript. And now when they launched this project, they have created a huge number of classes. If you want to see what all, not classes, huge number of methods. If you want to see what all methods they have implemented in this project, you need to go to our website, seleniumhu.org. This is Selenium headquarters. What is Selenium? It automates browsers. That's it. It's only for web-based testing. Anything and everything available on the web can be easily handled using Selenium, but no desktop or other applications. If you go to the download part, this is the current version of Selenium. That is 3.13. We'll be working on this version itself. But initially in the market, they came up with 1.0. Selenium RC was a part of 1.0, right? If you go to this Java document, these are lists of the classes which you're going to find in the Selenium project, the latest 3.3 project, 3.13 project, right? Initially, there was, these many classes were not there when 1.0 was there. 1.0 major implementation was done with the help of this default Selenium class. Sorry, default Selenium, not default session. It is default Selenium, created by thoughtworks.com. If you go down, you'll find a method summary over here. See, all these were the method, list of methods. Any action that you want to perform on a page, you want to capture a screenshot, method called capture screenshot. You want to click on a link button, checkbox, radio button, call a method click. You want to do any action on a page, you'll find a method over here. Right? It's a huge collection of methods. See, you want to check the presence of any element, is element present. You want to navigate to a website, open URL in a test frame, call the open method, provide the URL in a string format. For every action, there is a method available. So what companies they have done, they have downloaded Selenium, the jar file, they got access to this default Selenium class, they have created an object of default Selenium, did it like this, and started automating their projects, their website. But this code will directly not gonna run on browsers, because in order to support this JavaScript injection, there is a prerequisite. You need to start something called a Selenium Server. Now what this server is nothing. This is your jar file itself, your Selenium file itself. Go to download and download Selenium from here. You get one single jar file. I've already downloaded it, so I'll cancel the download. This is one single jar file. It will look something like this. This is your 3.13. Now, what you need to do, go to command from this location, type java -jar selenium 13.0.jar. Press enter. It will start your server. This is the only thing that you need to do. Till the time you won't start this server, this code will not perform any action on your browser, because this is your JavaScript engine as well. This is the one which is communicating with your browser and injecting JavaScript on your browser. If you run this code without running this server, immediately it will error out. It will throw an exception that please make sure your Selenium server is running on. This was a prerequisite, right? So when companies started using Selenium RC, they started facing a lot of challenges. What all challenges were faced at the time of RC? One of the major challenge was this JavaScript injection. Why this JavaScript injection was a challenge? There were some projects. See, Selenium RC was very old. I mean, it initially started this project in 2004 itself. Almost 14 years back, this project was started, Selenium. Right? So at that point of time, when Selenium RC was there in the market, there was many projects that were supported only on IE. Right? Chrome and Firefox, they came after IE itself. So there were many projects, many client projects which were completely supported on IE. They don't run on Chrome, they don't run on Firefox. And if we talk about IE as a browser, there are still some projects. Even I am doing a consultancy for one of the company whose project is still working only on IE. They don't work on Chrome or any other browser. On IE, if you have ever noticed, there's a status bar sometimes shows over here and shows a yellow triangle on that status bar. Have you noticed that thing? If you have ever performed testing on IE, you might see done with errors, something like a small yellow triangle. I'm talking about something similar to this. Let me show it to you. IE status bar error. Yeah, something like this yellow triangle, but this is there at the status bar. Something similar to this only. So what this yellow triangle is? Warning. What sort of warning? What sort of warning? Exactly. So this warning is something related to JavaScript itself. There is some JavaScript that website is injecting and it is not supporting it. There are some websites which inject their JavaScript. Any action that has to be performed on the GUI end, on the UI end, website can inject its own JavaScript as well. If someone is a very good JavaScript developer, he can even write a code that can fetch information out of your browser. The stored information from your browser end, like stored username, password. There are some critical informations as well stored, some cookies stored. He can easily fetch those information by writing a small JavaScript code, because JavaScript works on the client end. So any information that is stored on the client on the browser end can be easily retrieved using the JavaScript. At times when you are accessing any secured application, then this JavaScript injection is actually blocked. IE being a highly secured browser, you will get these warnings on IE. You will not get these warnings on Chrome or any other browser. You will not see this yellow triangle coming in Chrome or Firefox. You will see most of the time it is coming only on IE, because it is a highly secured browser. It does not allow any third-party JavaScript to be injected onto its browser. On the other end, how Selenium RC works, it injects JavaScript. So when you execute Selenium RC code on IE, you get a big blocker saying that script cannot be executed further, because Selenium RC is injecting JavaScript and IE is actually blocking that JavaScript. Then how they guys initially they say that Selenium, it supports multiple languages plus it supports multiple browsers as well. You can work on IE, you can work on Firefox, you can work on Chrome, you can work on Safari, you can work on Opera. All major browsers are supported. Then how IE was supported? There was a workaround. Workaround was that you need to go to this settings, go to internet options, and remove all these enable protected modes. Means you are removing the entire security from your website, from your browser. If you remove the entire security from your browser, you should be able to run Selenium RC code on IE. But my website was an HTTPS website. It was on a secured layer. It has got some SSL certificates. As soon as I removed the security, I started getting these warnings. You may have seen these warnings, where it says the site security certificate is not trusted, or the security certificate is missing. It means if the website is not launching, if I'm getting these errors, what will I automate? Right? If it is not bypassing this security certificate, the website will not show up and I'll not be able to automate it. So these were the challenges that companies have faced while they were working on secured application, while they were working on application which only supports IE. We were not able to automate it using the Selenium RC library because it injects JavaScript and IE blocks that JavaScript. This was not the only challenge. This library that we just talked about, this itself was a major challenge. Major challenge as in Selenium RC was completely dependent on the methods that they have created. Method as in, if there is a method, let's say I want to get the title of the page. There is a method called as getTitle. If this getTitle is not there, will I be able to get the title from the page? I'll not, right? If there is a method, let's say n number of operations you can do using these methods. If a close method, what it does is it closes the browser, the current browser itself. If the close method is not there, I'll not be able to close the browser. If click is not there, I'll not be able to perform click on the button or any radio button or checkbox. It means if a method is there, I'm able to perform that action. If a method is not there, I'm not able to perform this action. How many methods are there in this class? There is one single class. It could be 100 methods, could be 200 methods. This is the last method. Window maximize. It's resize the current window to take up to the entire. Maximize the browser. So there are not more than 200 methods in this library. Means my automation is dependent on these two methods. Or I can say my automation is restricted to these 200 methods. Means when we write test cases, manual test cases, we do a lot of permutation and combination. Test this username field with so many scenarios. Test this login functionality with so many scenarios. So we do a lot of permutation and combination. And it's not mandatory for every permutation and combination you'll find a method inside this library. Right? There are scenarios where you want to automate a particular test case and a functionality is not there. Then you are restricted. You'll not be able to automate that functionality. Like I got one of the scenario. One of my test case was, I want to print links. What all links are there on this page? I want to get the text of all the links available on this page. So I searched for a method. In order to get anything from the page, the method starts from get. So let's say, do we have any such method? Get. We want to get the text. So let's see. We have a method called as getText. What it does? It gets a text of an element, of a single element. I don't want for a single element. If I talk about element, what are elements? Anything that you see on this UI, on this web page, is basically an element. Even if you talk about text, this is also an element. If you talk about the scroll bar, these are also elements. If you talk about link, this is also an element. Even a single dot is an element on a web. An element on a web, we call it as a web element. So any element, if you want to get text of any particular one single element, you call this method getText. Provided the locator, what are locators? We're going to talk about it in some time. Provided what particular element you want to get text, it will get the text from that element, but from one single element. My test case is to get text from all the links, not from all the elements, not from one single element. I want it specifically from the links. I want to get text from all the links. So this method will not gonna work. Let's say, do we have any other method? There is a method called as getAllLinks. What it is returning us? It returns the IDs of all the links. It will give you IDs for all the links. What we are looking for? Text. There is no as such method in this library. There is no way you can achieve this scenario in Selenium RC. So what you will do? Either you need to create a method of your own. But if you are creating a method, it means you are developing Selenium. Right? If a functionality is not present, then you are designing that functionality. But being a tester, why should I design a functionality? So these are the challenges Not only this, there were many scenarios where the functionality was missing in this library because this was a limited library. If I compare this library, I can compare this library with an automation tool. I can compare this to QTP, to UFT. Although UFT is a very huge tool. If this class contains 200 functionality, QTP might contain 2000 functionality because there are so many developers being involved in designing QTP. But again, the functionality is restricted to a particular number, 2000, not more than that. And when we write test cases, it doesn't mean that whatever test cases we have written, all the functionalities are there in QTP as well. Because those functionalities are also designed by developers. Maybe the developer has designed it, maybe he has not designed it. At times, you may not find a particular functionality in UFT as well, then you go to HP and you ask for add-ons. They sell their add-ons as well to support that functionality. Now, what are add-ons? Add-ons are also designed by developers, right? At times the add-ons are there, at times the add-ons are not there. Again, we are restricted. So there are times when you may not find functionality in QTP as well. Then you are restricted. You cannot automate that functionality using QTP. Same is the case with default Selenium class. It has got a limited functionality. So all these were challenges of Selenium RC. RDE was not at all successful. Record and play was not at all successful. So RC was the coding part. So things were achieved using RC. But again, RC, people have faced a lot of challenges while working on RC. So all these challenges, the limited library, JavaScript injection, was actually recognized by one person whose name is Simon Stewart. He was a lead developer at Google. In 2006, he started another project parallel to RC, which we know with the name as Webdriver. So Webdriver was initially started at Google itself in 2006. In Webdriver, what he has done, he has overcome all challenges that were faced in RC. The very first challenge was JavaScript injection. From the architecture, he had completely removed the JavaScript injection. There is no JavaScript injection in Webdriver. If JavaScript injection is not there, there is no need to start the server. You can directly run the code. The other thing he has done, there was only one major class in RC. In case of Webdriver, for every browser he has created classes. If you want to work on Firefox, there is a class called Firefox Driver. If you want to work on Chrome, there is a class called Chrome Driver. You want to work on IE, there is a class called Internet Explorer Driver. Even to support Safari, even to support Opera, he has created different classes for each one. Not only this, it's a huge collection of libraries. All these classes are somewhere related to Webdriver. Anything you may need to automate, you'll find a functionality in this library. Right? It's a huge collection of libraries. Sorry? Type was in RC. Same thing is converted into send keys in case of Webdriver. In Webdriver, for typing, we don't use type. We use send keys. Right? Just that they are changing the naming to send keys. Right? So this is how they have designed Webdriver. They have created a huge collection of libraries, a huge methods available for handling any feasible functionality on a web. You'll find it over here. But again, you're not going to find get all links. They have not designed get all links in Webdriver as well. But they have designed this functionality in such a way that anything that you may want to achieve it for your test cases, you can integrate the Java coding with Selenium and you can get that part using the functionality which is available in Webdriver. You need not to create an additional functionality for getting all the links. You can use the existing available functionality, you can add your own logic and get all the links from the page. So Webdriver library is not method dependent, right? It is dependent on your logics, and logics are your basic core Java libraries. That is how they have designed this Webdriver API. And since JavaScript injection is not there, how the classes are interacting with the browser? How these classes are interacting with the browser? Through HTML code. How Firefox driver class is communicating with the Firefox browser? How they are communicating? There is no JavaScript injection. Then how these are communicating? By default, there must be something written in the architecture. What is by default? What that exe contains? How the communication is done? Jar file is a Java API. How that jar file is just a Java project. How that project is communicating with the browser? No. How the communication is built with the browser? Sorry? Exactly. See, if I talk about Firefox as a browser, don't worry about Firefox driver class. We are talking about just Firefox as a browser. This browser must have designed in some language, right? Maybe C#, maybe C++. I'm not familiar with which language Firefox is designed, which language Chrome is designed. But all these browsers must contain some internal classes. Their developers might have contained some methods, some functionality, might have designed an API for it, right? If I talk about, let's say a layman example, I navigate to bookmyshow.com, right? And I purchase a movie ticket from there. At the end, I get payment gateways, ICICI Bank, Citibank, and a number of other banks. So do they share their entire code with BookMyShow for performing that transaction? They share that particular API. Similarly, all these browser vendors have their own API, which they share it with Webdriver guys. And these classes are directly communicating with the native classes of these browsers using that API. That API is actually a REST call itself. That is basically a REST API. So these browsers are communicating with these classes are communicating with the browsers using their internal native classes itself. So they are communicating with the native class of these browsers using the REST protocol. Using the REST, all the REST API is a huge term. If we start discussing on REST APIs, there is something called as API testing. Before the UI level of testing, there's another platform called as API, where you perform testing using XML, JSON, though that is all on a different platform. But right now, Selenium comes at a UI level, so we need to perform UI testing. So we'll be focusing majorly on the UI part. But here, the JavaScript injection is not there. These classes are communicating, Firefox driver class is directly communicating with the native class of the Firefox browser using the REST API itself. All the actions are being performed sending the REST call itself onto the browser. There is no JavaScript injection. That is what they've designed in the internal architecture of Webdriver. We'll be exploring more classes of Webdriver. We'll be laying down the entire architecture. I'm going to design a dummy Webdriver as well in front of you. Then this stuff will be more clear, right? But there is no JavaScript injection. The communication, there is a direct communication of a browser and a class, right? So if in case you want to see more documentation part of Selenium, this is very important to know the brief history of this project. So it first came into life in 2004 by a developer, Jason Huggins, who was an internal application developer at ThoughtWorks itself. In order to automate his daily routine tasks, he has created a small automation project. That project went up to such an extent they thought of giving it some name, and they came up with a name called as Selenium. Now, why only Selenium? Because in 2004, QTP was a project of which company? Mercury. Right now it's HP. Initially it was Mercury. Right. If we talk about mercury in general terms, what is mercury? It's an poisonous element. It's in thermometer, right? So there is a saying, if someone intakes mercury, then he'll die. So if someone intakes mercury, we give him an antidote. That is what selenium is. So selenium is basically an antidote to mercury. Selenium kills mercury. That is the reason they have given this project name as Selenium, so to end the market of QTP mercury. And up to such an extent, they are successful as well, not just because of cost, there are n number of factors behind it. The very first factor is that anything that is supported in Java, you can achieve that thing in Selenium. Because Selenium is not a tool, there are no boundaries for Selenium. QTP is a tool. Every tool has got some boundaries. Whatever functionality that developers have designed, you can use only those functionalities. In Selenium, it is nothing like that. Even if a functionality is not developed, you can write your own logics and you can achieve that functionality. That is what Webdriver provides you. That is the reason initially I said, if I talk about these components in Selenium, like we talk about ID, RC, then Webdriver, Grid, these components only cover 25% of your part in automation. Because these components will only going to click on an element, type on an element, and automate your website. When you're working on a real-time project, you just don't automate a website, you read data from Excel as well, read and write from Excel. So when you read and write from Excel, Selenium will not going to provide you any class to interact with the Excel file. You need to use another API called as Apache POI API. And this is nothing, this is just a Java. You want to generate logs. Logs is not a part of Selenium. You need to use Log4j API. You want to create test cases. Test cases, test suites, these are not designed by Selenium. Selenium is just going to launch a browser and start hitting the application, that's it. It will not tell how many test cases are passed, how many test cases are failed. It is not a task of Selenium. For that, you will be using some Java frameworks called as JUnit, called as TestNG. TestNG is very widely used in the industry. We'll be working on TestNG itself. Then, after the test cases are completed, you want to see some reports as well, like some HTML reports telling these many test cases are passed, these are failed, if some are failed, there should be some screenshots should be attached, some logs should be attached to that report. So that is again not a part of Selenium. Yeah. That is provided in testing. Log4j is just mentioning the log. You have clicked on that element, you are generating a log in a notepad file. User clicked on an element, user typed in an element, user launched the browser, user quit the browser. You're just adding logs. Like we do system out println, that result is there in the console window. If you again run the program, the results will be gone. So yes, something sort of a text file is generated and all the logs is printed in text file with current timestamp. Like at this date, at this minute, at this second, this event happened. The same thing for the entire automation. See, if you have an automation suite which is for 4 hours, you will not sit and look that for the entire 4 hours at what is happening on the machine. Then how will you come to know that the entire test cases are successfully executed or not? You will generate some logs. For each and every click, each and every action, it will going to generate a log in the log file. And that thing is not provided by TestNG, not provided by Selenium. For that, you need to use Log4j API. Whosoever have permission on this project can even look at it. You can upload it to a website and can be looked worldwide, anywhere from there. If you want to restrict it to yourself, just generate it on your local directory. Right. So not only this, after we're going to see these things once we start working on a project, right? But before that, we need to get our hands dirty on Selenium. So Selenium, like from another 4 or 5 sessions from now onwards, you will be capable enough. You can automate any website in the world. automating a website is not at all a big deal. Right, after 4-5 sessions, you should be able to handle any complex element, any dynamic element on a web page, any sort of application you should be able to automate. The challenging part will gonna come once you start working on these things. And these are not only these three things. For reporting, we'll be using something called as test-ng reports. We'll be using a report-ng. For after report is generated, we want to send out an email with attachment of that report. So automatic emails should be there. We'll be using Java Mail API. Then we'll be working on Maven, which is a build tool. We'll be working on continuous integration using Jenkins. We'll be designing 2 frameworks from scratch. One is data-driven, one is page object model. This is one of the hybrid frameworks that majorly organizations are working on. So we'll be designing this as well. And then we'll be looking at some parallel execution using Grid. So Grid is one of the components. If you have 100 test cases, you want that same test case should run on Firefox, on Chrome, on IE, on Windows, on Linux, and on Mac machines, because at times you need to perform browser compatibility testing. If you do it manually, then you align 8 to 9 resources, and one is performing on testing on Firefox, one is doing testing on IE, one is doing testing on Chrome, one is checking on Mac, because client wants that his product should work on all operating systems, all different browsers. So if you do it manually, the entire team will start doing testing on different browsers. Grid automates the entire thing. In Grid, there is no physical resource required. You create an architecture of something called as hub and nodes, and these are your real machines. You execute your test cases through hub, and on different machines it will be executed on Linux, on Windows, on Mac, on IE, on Firefox. Same test cases will be executed parallelly. So that is what can be achieved with the help of Grid. We'll be looking at Grid as well. And then, as I talk about Selenium as used for only web-based application testing, we can extend our test of Selenium and we can integrate another API called as Appium, which is nothing, it's just a wrapper over your Webdriver API. If you are very comfortable in Webdriver, writing the same code, you can execute the code on real device as well. You can make a phone call, you can test Facebook, you can launch a browser on your Android device. You just need to add one more jar file, that's it, and need to do some configuration. But the concept will remain same, whatever that you are studying in Webdriver. Same way, if you have already worked on one API, like we talk about Selenium as an API, you can integrate REST assured APIs. This is another jar file. And you can integrate your REST services, web services testing within the same Selenium project. Right? So this is a benefit of this tool not having any boundary. You can do anything with Selenium, because Selenium is nothing, it's just Java. Anything that you can integrate with Selenium, you can integrate with, like with Java, you can use that thing with Selenium. You want to perform database testing, we'll be looking at something related to JDBC as well. You can fire queries and validate the result from your website. Using MySQL, SQL, Oracle, you can use this stuff with the help of JDBC API, with the help of a jar file. So anything in Java is feasible using Selenium. Even Appium guys, they are launching one of the projects which is currently in the beta phase called as Webdriver. Just search for these things, this term on Google. You'll find one jar file which you can use and you can automate your desktop application. You can launch a calculator on your machine and perform testing on it, automation testing. So, just not web application, you can integrate all these things into one single project. And that is what the need of industry these days. So Selenium is your start in automation. Selenium will actually going to build your base for automation. These are the next things that you can go for. If we talk about, you may have seen opening these days where if you apply for Selenium, they may ask you for API testing as well. So API testing, if it is with Selenium, it is not, they are not asking you to have knowledge on Postman or SOAP UI. Those are manual testing tools. Those are not in demand. Companies want that they have their own framework set up with Selenium, and they want to use the same framework to test REST APIs as well, REST calls as well. So you need not to use SOAP UI. That is a different tool. You want to integrate something into that Selenium framework itself. So you will be including a jar file called as REST assured. It is a complete Java project. You can integrate it with your Selenium framework, and you can perform testing on XML and JSON request as well. So although it is again a separate domain, it's a very huge domain for testing web services. You can do post, get, a number of requests available. But for that as well, your base of Selenium should be built. At least you should be good in using one API and performing testing using that API, and you should be knowing how to integrate all these utilities and create a complete framework. Once you are comfortable in all these things, then you can go for next level. You can extend your learning towards mobile platform, to API platform, because these are all similar things. So slowly and steadily, if you go down towards the line 2 years or 3 years, you will be practically working on these things. So the scope of Selenium is not limited. It's quite huge. It's just that you are starting with a web application. The more you go in depth into Selenium, you'll find new things coming into the market. Right? And after having good exposure to these things, you'll never prefer working on a manual environment again. That is what the benefit of automation. Right? So we're going to start with Webdriver. The very first prerequisite to get started with Webdriver is that you need to have Java installed on your machine. Java as in JDK, at least 1.8 or above. 1.8 is the most stable one, so we'll be working on this itself. Then you need an editor. So open source editor and the most popular editor is Eclipse. We will be working on Eclipse itself, Eclipse IDE, not Selenium IDE. It's an integrated development environment, right? You can download the latest one. I think the latest one after off-season, there is a new one that came into the market. But before that, we'll first download and configure JDK. I believe every one of you must be familiar with how to configure Java. Just you need to download it from here. Based on your operating system, mine is 64-bit. I've downloaded this one. Installation is very simple. Double click, it gets installed on your machine. Provide you some folders inside C drive, program files. You'll see a folder of Java, and you'll see JDK and JRE folders over there. JDK is Java Development Kit, JRE is Java Runtime Environment. What you need to do, your Java exists inside this bin folder. We need to provide this path in our global environment variables, right? Why the environment variables are important? Exactly. See, what we need to do, just right click, go to properties, go to advanced system settings, you'll get this window. There's a shortcut. Instead of doing this, just type edit, click on environment variables, create a new system variable with the name Java_home, paste the path of JDK folder, the root path. Once you're done with this, you'll find Java home created over here. Go down, you'll find a global path variable. Edit it. You'll see so many things already configured. Don't delete them. Don't modify them, because there are system 32 libraries as well configured over here. If you delete or modify them, then your existing running programs might get hampered or your Windows might get corrupt. So just you need to do, click on new, type %Java_home, %, whatever variable value that we have given in Java home, same value will come over here, like up till this JDK folder. Java is inside bin, so we simply need to say \bin. That's it. Once you are done with this, your environment variables for Java will be configured. Your Java is successfully configured. I've already done it over here, so I'll not be redoing it. Once you've done it, click on OK, go to command prompt. From any location, if you type Java-version, you should be able to see the current version of Java. This configuration is very important because what happens is that when we, in future, when we'll be working on Maven as a build tool, when we'll be working on Jenkins, those things will not going to work if Java is not configured on your machine. Because all those things will look for Java global path. And if Java is not set up in the global path, those programs might not come. Even your Eclipse will not going to launch if Java is not installed on your machine. So this is one of the prerequisites. Once you are done with this, the next thing you need to do is download Eclipse, where we can write the Java code. So for Eclipse, we again need to go to Google and say download Eclipse. Visit this website. Okay, the latest one is Photon, right? Very recently launched in the market. Even I have not started using it, but I would recommend you to download the latest one only. Because we'll be working on latest Selenium, latest IDE, latest Firefox. Everything latest we're going to use, right? So just download it. Directly don't download it from here. Go to download packages. You'll see so many components over here for Java, for C, C++. Eclipse is just an editor. You can write C, C++ code, PHP code, Java code, Python code, Perl code, right? All the languages major languages are supported by Eclipse. We'll be working on basic core Java, so we'll be downloading the very first version, IDE for Java EE developers. Based on your Windows, you need to download it. Mine is 64-bit, I've downloaded this one. Once you download it, it will come like a zip file. Unzip that, and you'll see Eclipse folder. Mine is of season 1 version. Prior to it, you should be downloading latest one. That's fine. We are going to work on basic core Java. If you have any old version to that, Neon or Mars, that will also be supported. But nothing below Mars. Right? You can even work on Notepad. But editor gives you some artificial intelligence, right? Something like you need not to worry about the imports, you need not to learn all the packages, everything will be handled by Eclipse, right? That is the reason editors are there for. In a class, there could be 100 methods. You need not to learn all the methods. You simply say obj dot, it shows you list of all the methods, right? So there are benefits of working on editor because you can manage your project very well when you're working with editor. Okay, so workspace will be creating a new workspace for this batch. I'm going to name this batch as batch 22nd. Today is July 2018 Webdriver. So whatever code that we are going to write, whatever, like for each session, we are already recording all the videos, right? For this session as well, we are recording this video. So all the videos will be hosted onto this URL. Guys, just look at it because you might be accessing a different URL. From now onwards, all the videos will be hosted on courses.way2automation.com. There's a section over here. If you click on this section, so if you go down, this is the batch that ended today itself. So your batch will be on top of this batch. So I'll be adding this today's video over here. If you don't have access to it, simply create an account and send me an email. You have access to all the previous batches, right? Just sign up on this URL and drop me an email that you have created the account. Then I'll give you the access. I'll be uploading the code as well over here. I'll be uploading the video as well over here. So everything will be at the one place, right? So next time, don't ask me that where I need to watch the online session, right? Because I'll be receiving mails from some of you. I generally receive it. But I already explained that you need to watch it from this URL. How you will be getting access? The simple way is directly go to way2automation.com, go to member login, right? You'll see this pop up, just launch it, Enter username, password if you have already created account. Otherwise, just create it and go to that section where you will be finding this course, the combo package. Those are internal recordings which are from the Java sessions. Those are in Hindi and English. These will be purely English, right? I'm not going to talk in Hindi in these classes because these videos are actually accessed by global users as well who are outside India. So they might not be comfortable in Hindi. So we'll be keeping the entire session in English. If you have any queries, you can ask in Hindi, but I'll revert you back in English only. All right. We'll discuss it offline. All right. Okay. So let's come back to the topic. So now on this Eclipse, on the Project Explorer, we'll be creating a new project. See, for today's session, we're going to see the configuration of browser only, how to configure Firefox, Chrome, IE, right? So till the time you come to the next session, all this configuration should be completed on your own machine, right? Because if you face any challenges while launching Firefox, while launching Chrome, you need to drop me an email or just give me a call that you're not able to launch Firefox, you're getting this error with the complete screenshot of the error that you're getting, right? So what all things that I'm going to explain right now, just follow the same configuration process, right? Then you might not face any challenge. So first, let's create a new project. Name it as Webdriver testing itself. Click on finish. For the timing, since like we'll create a new class first, I'll say new class, and I name it as test browser. Check this main method. All the execution will be done with main method only for the timing because we have not started working on any framework. So everything will be executed from main method, right? So since we are working on, we'll start working with Firefox first, or which browser you want to start with? Firefox or Chrome? Firefox, okay. So for Firefox, there is a class called as Firefox driver. You just need to create an object of this class, new Firefox driver. That's it. But I'm getting some errors. Import the package. So this class is inside which package? I'm not getting the package details. Why? We have not added the jar file, right? It will automatically not going to understand what is Firefox driver. This is inside Selenium API. For that we need to have Selenium that we have downloaded from here, the jar file. For the timing, we are just going to use one single jar. Later on, I'm going to show you there are multiple jars as well, right? So first, download this one single standalone server jar file. We have already downloaded it. Right click, go to build path, add external archives, and the jar file is f drive selenium prerequisite jars. Add. Still, we are getting this error. Now let's mouse over onto it. We'll get an option to import. Click on this and this will be imported. Right? That's it. Let's run this and see what happens. We got an exception. Initially, after Selenium 1.0, when Webdriver came into the market, Webdriver was launched in July 2011, the very first version of Webdriver, after integrating Webdriver and Selenium into one single project. They named it as Selenium 2.0. And this release went up to 2.53.1. 5.3.1 is the build number, 2 is the release, 1 was the release. The major release 1, then the major release 2, right? So 5.3.1, like in development, we do check-in, the release number, the build number gets changed. Same way, whenever they add new functionality, they keep on incrementing the build number. So 2.531 was the last build of this release, right? And then Selenium 3 came into the market. Now Selenium 2 was Webdriver. What Selenium 3 is? Selenium 3 came into the market and the current release of Selenium 3 is 3.1.3.2. So what is Selenium 2 and what is Selenium 3? Selenium 2 is Webdriver, that we know. What is Selenium 3? Sorry? Combination of RC and no. Mobile. It was supposed to launch for mobile automation testing in August 2008. They have written a blog in which they were planning to add Selenium 3 APM within Selenium 3. Right? APM and Selenium was supposed to merge in one single project. Although APM is a standalone entity, but it was initially supposed to be added into Selenium 3. But right now they have not integrated it. Mobile part is still separate domain. They may integrate it in Selenium 4, but in Selenium 3 mobile is not integrated. So APM is not there in Selenium 3. What else is Selenium 3? Grid is a standalone component. It is there with 1, it is there with 2, it is there with 3 as well. Very first thing in Selenium 3, if you look at this, RC is completely removed from Selenium 3. RC library does not exist in Selenium 3. 2.0, it was there in 2.0. Right? The default Selenium class was there in 2.0. I'll show it to you. If I say default Selenium equal to new default Selenium. If I import it, I'll not get anything for importing because we are using 3.13. It's not there, right? If I remove this 3.13, I'll say build path remove, and I add one jar file that is 2.53.1. And if I mouse over it, the last release of 2, default DEFAULT, sorry, it's default Selenium. You'll find this, but it shows something like strike down. What is strike down? Deprecated. In 2.531, it got deprecated. Right? Deprecation means they are no more going to support it. You can use it, but if there are any bugs, they're not going to fix it. This is what deprecation means. But what I'll do, No, compatibility is there, but there are some additional configuration you may need to do. I'll tell you what are those things. If I go to download, if I just look at it carefully, if I go to download, these are the previous releases. Right, I added 2.53.1. 2.53.1 jar file is over here. This is 2.53.1. Now what I'll do, I'll go back and I'll download this 2.44. Yeah. Let's see what happens. It's been downloaded. Yes, you'll be downloading latest one, don't worry. Okay, but see, okay, let's talk about default Selenium first. Let it get downloaded. I'll place it Webdriver Selenium prerequest charts. Right, and what I'll do, I'll now remove 2.53.1, go to build path, remove, and add external jars and add 2.4. See, all the errors are gone. Don't worry about this error, this is something related to constructor. But all errors are gone. So up till 2.44, Selenium RC was supported. After 2.44, it went deprecated. Right? They have deprecated to default Selenium after 2.4. So that is the reason if you add 2.53.1, you'll find a strike sign over there. Remove and add it. Alright. 2.5. You'll find deprecation sign. But if in case you don't want to use default Selenium, see RC was gone in 2. In 3 it is not there, right? But if in case, let's say we are using 2.53.1, right? Initially, when we use 3.13, we have created an object of Firefox driver. Firefox driver equal to new Firefox driver. This is what we did. And when we imported it, we got import. See, we are able to use this class in 2.53.1 as well, in 3.13 as well, in 2.531 as well. But when we executed it, we got some exception in 3.13. But if I execute it right now, what it will do? So it launches a browser. Why it launches a browser? Okay, let's forget about Firefox for some time. Let's do this thing for Chrome driver. Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. Import Chrome driver and run this. We'll immediately get an exception. Same exception that we got for 3.13 for Firefox. We got the same exception for Chrome in 2.53 as well. You'll get the same exception for Chrome in 3.13 as well if you do it directly like this. This is because in Selenium 2.53.1 or Selenium 2 release, till Selenium 2 release, Firefox was directly supported. And in order to work on Chrome, you need some executable file that is provided by the vendor itself, Chrome, in order to launch this browser, in order to perform communication with this browser. That executable file, you'll get it from here, from seleniumhu.org. Go to download and see third-party driver bindings which are not developed by Selenium HQ. There is something called as Google Chrome driver. Go to latest, go to 2.40 and download this zip file. Once you download it, unzip it, where it is, it's over here. This is the exe file. Just copy this exe and just don't copy it, just take the path for the time being. This is the path of this exe. Right. Look at the error. What exception that we were getting when we run it. It says illegal state exception. The path to the driver executable. What we downloaded is the driver executable. It is asking for the path to the driver executable. Must be set by webdriver.chrome.driver system property. So we need to add a line over here. System.set property. The key is webdriver.chrome.driver. And the value is the path to that to that executable. That is Chrome driver.exe at this location. Save this, run this now, and let's see what happens. Chrome browser will launch. Right? So this was a prerequisite for Chrome browser, but this prerequisite was not there. I'll show it to you again. This prerequisite was not there for Firefox in 2.0. But if you start working on 3.x release, then you need the same thing for Firefox as well. This is because the implementation of Firefox was not as per World Wide Web, like there is something called as W3C specifications. Initially, Webdriver 2.0 was not designed as per W3C specifications. Right? There are some standards which every automation tool, which every project has to meet, right? If they are globally recognized. If we talk about Selenium, so far there is no official certification in Selenium. Right? There is nothing which says Selenium certified. You have HP certified, QTB, UFT professional, different automation certifications are there, but nothing is there for Selenium. Because the community itself has not given any certification for that. There are some organizations, they say that we give you government certified Selenium certification, but that is again not globally recognized, because that is not provided by Selenium community. That is provided by that institute or that organization, not by Selenium. So don't go for any certification in Selenium. If in case you want to go for a certification program, go for OCJP, that is Oracle Certified Java Programmer, right? Basic core Java certification. If you have good understanding of Java, it means that you know Selenium, because Selenium is nothing, it's only Java only. If you know Java, you should be good in Selenium, right? So there are some standards that every project has to implement, and those are the World Wide Web standards provided by W3C, right? So initially it was missing in Selenium 2. Selenium 3 is nothing. It's more like an official version of Selenium where everything is completely documented. Since it was an open source project, open source means anyone can contribute to the development. It does not mean that open source means it's completely free of cost. It is free of cost, but open source also means that anyone can contribute to the development of this project as well. So it's not only that Google who has designed Webdriver. There are developers from Facebook, from Adobe, from big organizations throughout the world. They have contributed into the development of this project. Even if you are good in core Java, you can add some functionality, you can contribute it to the Selenium community. If they like it, they're going to include it in the project. That is what open source it means. Google itself is a very heavy user of Selenium. All their internal web-based projects are tested by Webdriver itself, and they have played a major role in implementation of this project as well. That is the reason this is one of the most powerful and open source automation projects. Right? So 3.0 is nothing. It's more official version of Selenium with the implementation of W3C specification. 3.0 is Webdriver only, but with W3C specifications implemented. There is proper documentation done for all the methods. Initially, if you go to the 2.0 release, there were many methods that people have created. There were some duplicated methods were created. There were methods without definition that were created, right? Just the name was there. We are not familiar with what that method is doing. There is no proper documentation available. But if you look at the 3.0 library, it is completely documented. So 3.0 is like more optimized code. All the duplicate coding that was done was removed, duplicate functionalities was removed, RC library was removed, and the Firefox implementation on latest browsers, we need the same executable file that we needed for Chrome, for IE, for other browsers. Initially, Firefox was directly supported. So that is the reason we were able to work on it, directly launch it using 2.5, 3.1. But if you use 3.13, you'll not be able to launch it directly. You need to use the same stuff. So instead, either give it like system.set property. If you don't want to give this, just copy this exe file copy it and paste it to the root of your project. And then again run this. There is no need to give system properties. It will still support it. Right now we are on Chrome. I'll show you this thing on Firefox. Right? So remove 2.53.1, go to build path, remove, and add 3.13. See, 3 library is still into development phase, as in if we talk about the system.set property is something which is an internal command. This is a Java utility. This is not from Selenium. This is something when you got an exception, it says that you need to add this thing. Right? I'll show it to you for Firefox. Right now the exception is not there. This is just a message. How we come to know about this property? I'll tell you how we come to know. See, right now I have added 3.13. I'll again run it. It will work fine for Chrome because we have added Chrome driver.exe. See, it launches Chrome. Now, if I want to do the same stuff on Firefox, I'll say Firefox driver equal to new Firefox. Import the class. Control-Shift-O is the shortcut. It will import the class. Run this thing again. You'll get an exception. Exception, itself will say, you need to read this exception. The path to driver executable must be set by webdriver.gecko.driver. Means this is a system property that it is asking you to give it in system.set property. Give over here. And you may need to look into the coding part of Webdriver. Then you will be able to come to know. But for these browsers, whichever browser class you start using it, if this is not defined, the exception will gonna throw this thing. Otherwise, you need to dig into the code. You can look at the code as well. In open source project, their developers, they give away the code as well. If you want to see the code, how will you get it? No, this is some property. This is not a class. We need to make a habit doing this way only. Because later on, once we move on to some project, we'll not be pasting everything onto the root. This is, we have pasted on the root. Right? So for the timing, if you want to use it on the root, you can use it. But later on, once we move on to a project, on a framework, then we'll be creating a different package where we'll be storing all these executables. And you need to give the path of that package. This is not a code. This is just a property. This set property is a method. System is a class. It's an internal Java class. It's in java.lang.system. You are calling the method set property. Set property method accepts 2 arguments. One is the property and one is the path of that executable. So we are providing the property with the help of this exception webdriver.gecko.driver. So just copy this and provide it over here. And then the path of the executable. So right now we have given it for Chrome. Now we need to download it for Firefox. Firefox, where will you get it? Again, go to Selenium HQ, download, and over here look for something called as Mozilla Gecko and download the latest one. If you look at this path, this Gecko driver file, this is still not 1.0. This is still 0.21. It means there are developments still going around in Gecko driver. So you may face some challenges while working on latest Firefox. Right? We're going to see what all those challenges are. 3.0 is not very much stable for latest Firefox. It works fine for Chrome and other browsers, but there are some challenges, although most of the challenges are resolved now. Initially, when 3.0 came into the market, it was not at all stable. But still, up till this release, 3.13, they have fixed so many issues. So you may face less challenges while working on Firefox, but still there are some issues, which we're going to see.
So the next time if we find this type of error, property type of error, we have
you need to include this file.
We have followed the same steps.
Same step that I'm doing right now. We are doing browser configuration system, right? So for this, you need to download this Gecko driver based on your Windows 32 or 64-bit. Let me download it. RC is gone. Don't worry about RC. RC is no more there. Right? Companies are only working on Webdriver. RC is gone from 3.0. See, RC was there in the market initially till the time Webdriver was not there. When Webdriver came into the market, then companies have already migrated them to Webdriver. And all the development is going only in Webdriver. RC, they are not looking at it. They've already removed this project from Selenium 3. Because RC was not a big success. They have to migrate completely to Webdriver. And 99% of the companies are already working on Webdriver. You may find 1% of the company who is still using RC. This is just because the lack of knowledge. If a person is not good in Java or not good in programming, he may be working on RC. Because RC, in order to work on RC, it's not very high level of programming that is required. But in order to work on Webdriver, you should be very good in Java. Right? Because Webdriver is purely object-oriented. There are so many classes and interfaces. In case of RC, there was only one major class. You just keep on calling methods and automate your website. But this is not the case with Webdriver. Although it is not very complex because we are not developing anything, but still we need to use the basic OOPS concepts over here. Right? So let's look at this Gecko driver, how to launch it. Just copy this Gecko driver. Either give it in the path or copy and paste it to the root. If you paste it to the root, you need not to give this system set property. Simply create an object of Firefox driver, run, and it will actually going to launch your browser. These are just messages and the Firefox driver, Firefox browser. Right? After launching, you need to navigate to a website. So for navigating to a website, method is driver dot. When you do driver dot, you should be able to get all the methods from these classes. So one of the method is get. Get, it asks you for string URL. String means double quote, and give the URL http://google.com. Save this, run this. So make sure at least this much should be there on everyone's machine, should be at the running condition. You should be able to launch a browser, navigate to a particular URL. Launch the URL. Using this, you will not be able to launch the URL. This is for setting up the exe file. Right? Don't get confused with this code. This is the only code. Just add the executable for the time being and see if the browsers are launching. Make sure you have the latest browser, latest Firefox, latest Selenium jar, and latest exe files. Same thing goes for Chrome, same thing goes for ICE. If your Firefox version is 50, 51, 52, something like that, and you're using latest Selenium, it will not gonna support it. You need to upgrade it to the latest one. That's fine. I'll show you on my machine. You'll see two things. See, this is the older one, having Firefox Firefox. This is 47.0.1. See, I'll show it to you. This is 47.0.1, but when I'm running this code, this is not launching that 47.0.1. So for using Firefox, you can use that. For running the code, you can use it. Yes. This is functionality in the latest browser. You can keep existing old browser as well. Sorry? It's not in Selenium, it's for Firefox. Just turn on the auto update, turn off the auto update functionality. Right? Because people who are familiar with Firebug Firepath, you may be knowing that there is no Firebug Firepath over here. But Firebug Firepath can be used over here. But there are alternates available to Firebug Firepath. I'm going to show it to you. Now, what is Firebug Firepath? If people are not familiar, don't worry about it. Those guys have already worked on Firebug Firepath, so they are familiar with it. But I'll be explaining it to you from scratch. So don't worry about Firebug Firepath for the time being. Right? Just download latest Firefox. Latest browser should be there, latest jar file should be there, and latest exe. We'll be working on all latest versions, right? So Firefox is working fine, Chrome is working fine. Let's see if we are able to navigate it to the Chrome as well. So launch Chrome and navigate it to google.com. And then we'll be testing it on IE as well.
So only local connections are
Don't worry about that. That is just a message. You can ignore that message. It has nothing to do with the execution. It's just a message starting from driver only local connection. It is locally started. Then Internet Explorer driver equal to new Internet Explorer driver. Save this, run this, and let's see. We need executable for IE as well. So for IE, download the. Okay. The path to driver executable must be set by Webdriver IE.driver, right? For Gecko, Chrome, IE. By same system property. Either set it through system property or copy paste the file in the root. So for IE, again, downloads, IE you'll get it from here, 32 or 64 bit. Even if you are on a 64-bit machine, I would recommend you to download 32-bit because 64-bit is bit slow. The execution is very, very slow. If you type something in a text box, like you type Selenium in a text box, it will type S, then take a pause, then E, then take a pause. The execution is very, very slow. Yeah. I'll tell you how that is done. That is also covered. Like on runtime, you can switch these things as well. But let me complete the browser configuration first. Right after that, I'm going to show it to you. So let's see for IE. Where's IE? Copy this and now let's run this and see. We got an exception. Still we got an exception. See what exception it is. It says session not created, unexpected error, launching IE, protected mode settings are not same for all zones. So protected mode settings should be at the same level. Protected modes are this. If somehow protected modes are disabled or not at the same level, you need to enable them and then run it. There is one more thing that if your zoom level is above 100 or below that, if you run it now, you may not get an exception for your protected modes, browser launched, right? But here you got another exception saying that launching IE browser zoom level set to 125, it should be 100%, right? So you need to again change it to 100 and now run it. And now it will work. But what I want is I want that browser zoom level should be 125 and I am not worried about if the protected modes are at the same level or not. I still want to run my code. It will not run now. It will error out. Right?
Same error.
Same error. That protected mode should be all at the same level. We can handle this thing through programming as well. There are some classes available in Webdriver, although those are later part of the course. But still, if in case you want to see that, I can show you that code. But don't worry about what coding is done over there. I'll just show it to you. Something like this. Don't worry about this class. There are some capabilities which can be passed to your browser class. These capabilities are your browser capabilities that you are defining that ignore this security certificates or security domains. You are telling ignore the zoom settings, and then you are passing these capabilities over here. Once you do it, and if you run your code now, oh, it again shows something. Let's see. No, it should bypass it. This is doing it because it shows deprecated. Maybe in latest they might have deprecated it. If I remove the latest one, it was working prior to 3.13 or 1.2. Maybe let me add this 2.53. And if I run this now, see, it has launched it, but it is not going ahead. Let's see. Session null does not exist. Okay, there might be a compatibility issue because we are using latest exe file and we are using a previous jar file. So this thing is not supported with Selenium 3. Let's see, 1.2 up till here it supports or not. Again it shows deprecated. Oh, it navigates. It shows deprecate, but it navigates after. It is working fine with 3.12, but not working with 3.13. Maybe they are developing something else for it. They have deprecated this constructor basically. If you don't use this constructor, it will work. Deprecation will go away. Right? But this was the way how we can actually bypass the security certificate and how we can bypass the zoom setting thing. And no matter if it is 125%, no matter if the protected modes are available or not, it will still run. Right? So these are the three browsers that you need to configure before you come for the next session next Saturday, 12 o'clock. Right? And for the people attending online, you will be receiving a new meeting invite for every session. So I'll be there are around 19 people attending online. Okay, so you guys will gonna receive a new meeting invite latest by Friday. So timings would remain the same, 12 to 2, right? And if you have any questions, any queries right now, you can ask it. We have just covered a little bit theory of Selenium today and just the browser configuration. From next class onwards, there won't be any theory. It will completely start hitting the website and automating elements on the website. We'll be learning all the techniques of XPath and CSS, handling dynamic elements, complex elements. We'll start doing it from the next session. But before that, at least this browser configuration should be there on your machine. At least these things should be on a working condition on your machine. Right? Let's see what all questions we have. What about Edge and Safari? Same thing goes for Edge and Safari. You have drivers available. You can download. For Edge, there's a class called as Edge Driver. Just try playing around with that as well. and for Safari, for Opera, different browsers, you need to do the same thing. Right? Edge is also there. So download the executable and try configuring this browser. If you face any challenges, then just let me know. I think your latest laptops must be having like Windows 10 is having i11 only, not prior to that. So that is only supported. Yeah. That is based on W3C specifications. Jdk is not implemented by this Selenium. It is implemented by Mozilla itself. So now Mozilla has asked Selenium if they want to integrate their browsers with, they want to perform communication with the browser, they need the same executable.
For your coding theory, the Firefox is driver is used the object
that thing will come tomorrow. Means in the next session. I'll tell you why we do that. That is a polymorphic difference. So why that is required, I'll first explain you the architecture of Webdriver, then we're going to see that. Desired capabilities is a Webdriver class, it's not a Java class. Okay, Deepa, you're not able to unmute yourself. You just need to ping me here and I'll unmute you. Just give me a moment, I'll unmute you. Just give me a moment. Yeah, if you have any questions, any queries, just ask me.
Yeah, thanks, Raman. So I had actually two questions. The session I was trying to unmute the button
Deepa, you need to be a bit loud. Your voice is not audible. Just please be a bit loud.
Okay, I was saying that I had two questions in the session, but I was not able to unmute it. That's
Okay,
why I wrote this question.
you just typed in a chat box. If you have typed it earlier, then I would have unmuted it to you. I initially asked everyone that whoever have the questions, you can either type it in a chat box or just ask me to unmute yourself, and then I'll unmute it to you. All right. Yeah, Arpita, desired capabilities is not a Java class. It's a class available in Selenium library. This is basically inside openqa.selenium.remote.desired capabilities. This class is also used to work on Selenium Grid. Right, we're going to look at this class in more depth once we start learning on Grid and see other topics related to it. Right, don't worry about this thing right now. I'm just showing it to you that with code as well, this can be handled. You need not to do manual configuration on your browser. You can bypass this thing, you can code anything else. Release notes, if you want to see the release notes, it is over here itself. If you want to see what all things they are developing, go to change logs, you'll see release note over here itself. So 3.14 is about to launch very soon. What all things they are changing, they are writing it over here. Right, it is there since 2.0, 3.2.53. Right? You want to see the code as well? There is code as well available. I'm going to show it to you in the next session. All right, so thanks a lot, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. So we'll meet next Saturday at the same time. If any one of you does not have access, then just drop me an email. Create your account over there and drop me an email. All right? And